Welcome to the line change. Um, we're trying something a little bit different in this video. Normally we are a Vancouver Canucks centric podcast. However, I'm deciding to do some stuff outside of that niche and expand the channel a little bit. No, and just talk about some other NHL stuff, possibly help out the channel, get some more views, and maybe get some more eyes on this channel as well. And maybe for those who aren't particularly Vancouver Canucks fans, and I can also give you my input on things that aren't Canucks related as well. So for this video in particular, as you can see by the title, we are going to be talking about Connor Bedard. We have spoken of him in previous videos on this channel, mainly talking about, the whole bring Bedard home thing, bring him home to Vancouver and have him, become a Vancouver Canuck. We're not going to be talking about that in this video. This is completely different, and we're not even going to go there. But in particular, this video, we're going to be talking about his future and not necessarily, as I mentioned, his future with another team, but just his future with the Chicago Blackhawks as coming up in July 1st to be exact. He will be eligible to sign an extension with the Chicago Blackhawks. And we're going to go over an article that talks about one analyst in particular, basically urging Bedard not to do it, saying it's not a good idea for him to sign an extension on July 1st. So let's go ahead and dive right into the article. This article in particular is from Sportskeeda. And as you can see, the headline reads, NHL analyst warns Connor Bedard against signing early long-term extension with quote-unquote awful Chicago Blackhawks. This was posted a few days ago, so I'm a little late on this, but I happened to stumble upon it. The article goes on to read, NHL analyst Craig Button had some harsh words for the Chicago Blackhawks amid discussions over a potential long-term contract extension for phenom Connor Bedard. Bedard, the number one overall pick in the 2023 NHL draft, is currently playing on his entry-level contract, which runs through the 2025-26 season. However, as of July 1 this summer, he will be eligible to sign a contract extension with the Blackhawks. Speaking on the Donnie and Dolly podcast Wednesday, Button said, and this is a quote, "The Chicago Blackhawks are awful. If I was Bedard's agent, I wouldn't sign him to any extension." The article goes on to talk about, show the quote again, and then as well as the tweet. I'll leave a link to this article in the description down below if you guys would either like to read along or read it yourselves. The article does continue to say the struggling Blackhawks sit in last place in the Central Division with a 20-39-9 record. This obviously being an older video, the record's not updated as the Blackhawks are actually 21-40-9. Bedard, however, has been a bright spot, leading the team with 53 points, 18 goals, 35 assists through 68 games. Button urged Bedard and his camp to take a wait-and-see approach. Then it goes on to quote him again, saying, "There's no benefit to signing early. He'll make the same money if he waits until next July. Plus, waiting opens him up to potential offer sheets. For me, Bedard needs evidence from the Blackhawks that a long-term deal is worth it, because right now there is nothing in Chicago that makes you think staying is beneficial," he added. The article goes on to say, Button explained that unless the NHL and the NHLPA agree to a new CBA before 2026, offer sheet rules will remain unchanged. This gives Bedard potential leverage if he chooses not to extend in Chicago. Ultimately, Button thinks the Blackhawks should be concerned about locking up their young star. Goes on to quote as well, I think Chicago has to be really concerned. I wouldn't sign Bedard to any long-term deal this summer. I'd wait until July 1, 2026. With the salary cap rising and Chicago's future seemingly murky, but Button believes Connor Bedard has little incentive to sign early. So that's going to do it for that article. It goes on to talk about his misconduct penalties from last week, but we're not going to really dive into that. But yeah, what do you guys think about this article from Craig Button? And what do you think of his words when it comes to the Blackhawks team this season? I'm obviously Chicago fans are not going to like this article whatsoever. So please don't hate on me. I'm just saying what Button is saying. I mean, I do have to kind of agree with him. Bedard shouldn't rush into signing a long-term extension with Chicago unless he's got evidence that Chicago is going to build around him and going to be good over the next several years, and that they at least have a plan in place so Bedard doesn't just waste away in Chicago for the next several years of his career. That's not really a knock on Chicago or the team. It's a fact. Chicago's not good, and they haven't been good for the last several years. Actually, you could probably even almost say maybe almost a decade. They haven't been all that great. Obviously, they had their Stanley Cup years several years ago, like over a decade, almost a decade ago, with the whole, Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves, Patrick Sharp. They had Antti Niemi. That team was built to win the Stanley Cup, and they did. Obviously, since then, they haven't been able to find that same type of team. And then you go and you draft a superstar like Connor Bedard, a generational talent, and you apparently don't have a plan for him, for him to elevate the team and succeed. You don't have people around him to help him. Bedard can't do it all on his own. This is kind of similar with the Canucks as well. Canucks rely very heavily on Quinn Hughes, for their offense, and it's just not enough. Quinn Hughes can't do everything for this Canucks team. You saw him zipping around the ice in that game against the Rangers on Saturday, and he actually clocked in at he had the top, speed in the NHL, of the entire season, in that game alone. So that bringing it back to Chicago and Bedard, Chicago can't rely on Bedard being their offensive driver. They need guys who can put the puck in the net and help Connor. Obviously, they have that defenseman. What was his name? Levshinov. He's got some good promise. He did end up scoring in that game against the Canucks, last week. He's got some very good potential, but he's a defenseman, but also he's one player. Obviously you have Ryan Donato, who's a good player. I've talked about him on this channel in recent videos, saying I think he'd be a good fit on the Canucks. But he's also a UFA, so we don't know if he will be back next season. I do believe I heard reports saying that Chicago is looking to extend him, so that would be a good step in the right direction for Chicago to take if they want to keep Bedard around in the long term. That would be a little bit of evidence to Bedard on him thinking long term in Chicago, but you're gonna have to do more than that to convince Connor Bedard to stay. I mean, if you really think about it, if Bedard does not sign an extension July 1st, and he does in fact listen to Button's advice and waits a year, he could still be off the sheet. Teams could go out there and offer sheet him. Like they could go out and offer sheet Connor Bedard and essentially steal him away from Chicago, because Chicago might not want to pay the price to keep him. Especially, and then teams would more than willing pay the price to get a player of the caliber of Connor Bedard on their team. If it's going to cost them first round draft picks, they're not going to care. They'll be like, okay, here, take our first round draft picks, because we're getting a generational talent in Connor Bedard on our team. So that's going to make our team even better. So we're not really going to need our first round picks. Over the next few years, we're going to be like either a playoff contender or a cup contender for years to come with this guy on our team. So they're not going to worry too much about that. And then if that were to happen, Chicago's got to match it. And we don't know if they'd be willing to go that far. Obviously, as it was mentioned in the article, the cap is going up, so we'll see. But I want to know from you guys. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of this article and this, quote unquote advice from Craig Button to Connor Bedard. I did see on Twitter, I don't have it here, but Elliot Friedman kind of echoed the same things that Button said in regards to that extension. And he too was urging Connor not to do it now, to wait until next season, or not even just that, but maybe even wait until the new CBA kicks in, which could be next year or even the year after, where it officially kicks in. But I want to know from you guys. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this article. What do you guys think about Connor Bedard's future in Chicago? Do you think he could get an offer sheet from a team if he decides not to extend with Chicago? Where do you think he could end up? Obviously, I'm a little biased. I'm not going to lie. I would love to see him rocking the blue. But once again, let me know in the comment section down below. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you're not subscribed to The Line Change, go ahead and subscribe. We are at actually just under 1,200 subscribers, which I'm flabbergasted by, and to all those that have subscribed, thank you very much. You really means a lot. And as you can see on the bottom of your screen there, you can find us on social media. You can find us on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, Spotify as well. You can find us on TikTok. And then also we have I'm in the process of making a Discord for the channel. It is going to be a Patreon exclusive. So go ahead and check out the Patreon and you can find it there. Also, I'm going to be adding some other stuff to the Patreon, some exclusive perks. So stay tuned for that. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.